I know it's a Saturday. So I'm excited. I can't believe I have never asked you to come on a call. Um, we've connected a few times, and I'll be honest, I have like beach body inferiority complex when I go to like events and stuff like that. And for the longest time, I was like, oh, there's Jessica. She doesn't know who I am, but oh my God, seriously. And then we met more closely through Shift Shop, I think. Through the when you're in a test group like that, you kind of really connect with people. And I know Michelle. Do you follow Jessica? Maybe, yeah. So if you know Jessica, I don't know why I get so emotional. And again, there's nothing. She's one of. Uh, I don't know why I'm crying. She's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life, ever. So, okay, I'm back. I just wanted to have her come on and chat with you guys just because it is a hard time. And I know we all are going through tough stuff, but she's one of the most inspirational and upbeat people that I've ever met. So I'm just going to let you go because I'm turning into a big ball of mush.
Mike, yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. That means so much to me. I just want you to know that. And it's interesting because I think that we all have those feelings sometimes about like different people that we see and we respect. And then when we see them in person, we're kind of like, oh, this is real. And I honestly, it's amazing that you even would say that about me because no joke, no, whatever. I truly would feel the same way about you. And I remember listening to you speak at leadership and just hearing your heart too, and just knowing you already, but hearing even more of the just genuine heart that you have is really incredible. So you guys have an amazing team. I am literally honored to get to talk to you today. When Mike asked me, I was kind of like, I think naturally, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit about the battlefield of the mind, right? But naturally, I was like, he wants me to talk. Like, it's just kind of, and I've spoken a lot, but it's just one of those things that it's never lost on me that it's a privilege to be able to get to use the words that God has put on my heart to say. And so thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me speak with you guys today. And I know that as I kind of start, Mike may have heard this first little story, and I wondered if I should even go into it, but I thought, you know what, I'm just going to say it because I'm sure that there's some new people that have joined the team since I spoke at Summit at an event with Miguel and everything back last summer. But it's relevant. I believe that this story, number one, I hope that it makes you laugh. And number two, I believe that it's so relevant to what we as coaches and honestly, just humans in this state right now something that we kind of need to recognize. And so I'm a single mom of two kids. I have a 3-year-old, Miss Kira, and let me tell you guys, she is going to be such a fierce leader someday. I'm so proud of my little girl. She is, her favorite term is "I do it," which I'm sure a lot of you toddler moms or preschool moms can understand, or dads can understand, right? But she does it. And I'll go into some stuff about her a little bit later that I think will be relevant. But Isaiah is my 7-year-old. He just turned 7. And when he was about 3 years old, I was transitioning with Beachbody and I had him in some childcare. And I remember the daycare provider calling me and saying, Jess, I've got to tell you something that happened today. I had a new little boy here with Isaiah. And the little boy, I don't know, it was weird. I caught it. I did something about it. But he started to push Isaiah down and just told him that he was ugly and his ears were too big and all this stuff. And okay, like as a parent, I'm sure you guys can all understand like kind of the boiling going on inside. Like I wanted to go there, and I picked him up from daycare that day. And, everything about my faith and personal development and everything just kind of like word vomited on him. I was like, you are so amazing and your ears are amazing and Jesus made you just the way you're supposed to be for this reason. And I'm just like basically like shouting affirmations at him, right? he's 3. Like, I have no idea at that time. Is he even like comprehending this? So the next day I get another call from Nancy, and she said, Jess, I had the other little boy again today, and I just needed to call you and tell you that it happened again. And I'm like, okay, what's up? Like, I'm starting to like, you don't mess with my kid, right? Like, doesn't we all have felt that way maybe? So I'm starting to feel that way. And she goes, but this time you should know that Isaiah looked right at him and he said, my mama told me that I have amazing listening ears, because the kid was telling him his ears were ugly, and that I'm a good listener, and that I was created just the way I was supposed to be, and I'm amazing. And he's just like, all this stuff that I had said like starts pouring out of him, and I am like on the other line on the phone, just so prideful, right? Like, I'm like, oh, my kid, And then she goes, and then Isaiah pushed him over and started kicking him. And I'm like, okay, so that was not the goal, but I love that he actually comprehended what I said, right? Sometimes we feel like maybe our kids don't. But the truth is, guys, and something that I've learned, I've been a coach for about 6 years now, and something that I've learned every step of the way, whether it's been a season of harvest or whether it's been a season of trial, because you will have both, right? You stick with anything long enough, you're going to have both in life or in business, whatever it is. But something that is always true is that there's always an enemy that wants to tell us that we are not good enough, that we are not capable, that we are not worthy of being able to be successful or to help other people. And it's always something that I feel like we need to recognize so that we can battle it. Because we know that that's not the case. I truly believe that if this is something that we're called to, it's something that we can do. And it's interesting because sometimes I sign up new coaches. Are you guys all seasoned coaches, or do we have some new coaches on here? Okay, cool. So whether you're a seasoned coach or a new coach, and I know that the first thing that kind of happens often when you sign up a new coach is maybe they're really excited beforehand. Maybe they're in your challenge group and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Like, I'm getting results, or I love this. And you're like, you should be a coach. And it's really exciting. And then they decide to be a coach. And before this, they've been like, oh, Brittany, you've got to do this. It's so much fun. I love it. And then they put the coach term on it. And all of a sudden they're like, I don't know who to talk to. I don't know who to invite. And when I talk to them, it's like, so I've got this thing, and it's just like this thing that we do together, and I don't know, maybe you want to be a part of it. And it gets really awkward and really weird. And it's like this sudden, like, you put a title on it and you step into your calling. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I hear this, like, almost like this voice of defeat immediately, or like even like this nervousness that takes over. And I, something that I've learned is that it's okay to like have some nerves. Like, it's okay, whenever we start something new, if you were to walk into a brand new job, there would always be like some excitement, some apprehension, there'd always be some of that. But there's something so amazing when it's not the fact that we are completely fearless, because that's just part of life, that we're going to like kind of go into some situations maybe having some apprehension. But there's something incredible that happens when we're fearless in our actions. And you can always be fearless in your actions. I remember the first time I spoke to a customer on the phone, when I did my coming out post about being a coach, it was pretty funny. It was literally just, I didn't have Instagram or anything. It was literally just me going, hey guys, I'm doing this thing and I've lost some weight. And, if you want to do that too, like, let me know. I'll be your coach. It'll be fun. I mean, literally I was excited and it was genuine, but that's like really what all that I put out there. But there was a rawness about that I think is powerful. But I remember the first person that hit me up was my ex-boyfriend from college's mom, who like messaged me on Facebook and was like, hey, can you call me? I want to talk to you about your shake thing. And I'm like, I don't know what to say, right? Like, all of those things kind of hit us. And I thought to myself, you know what? No, like I prayed over this. I'm supposed to do this. I don't know all the answers. I didn't have any training, like I watched YouTube videos, but like we didn't have like any kind of developed training, and that's okay. I just knew that I was going to do this. And so I thought, okay, so I called her. I didn't know everything. And I remember shaking when she answered the phone. But again, I was on the phone. I was fearless in my actions. And that was something that really, really stuck with me, is that successful people, I kept learning and watching leaders in this business and learning that successful people get uncomfortable. And so it wasn't just going to be a walk in the park, but if I was going to do this, I was going to do it. And I wasn't just going to go, okay, let's see what happens. No, I was going to really do it. And so I got on the phone. I did those things that I did not want to do. And I was up in front of people for a living, you guys. I was a worship director at a large church. I spoke or sang in front of people, 1,000 people, sometimes a week. Like it was just, I was fine talking to people or being upfront. I was fine with that. But this was different. This was different. And so I needed to give myself grace. But I also needed to fight that battle in my mind that said that, you don't know enough, or you can't do this, or you're not like her. And I learned that when I saw other people succeeding, it was so much better to celebrate them and to be inspired by them versus feeling like because they were succeeding, I was inferior some way, And so I just kept on going. And I remember, I had a mission. I mean, hopefully we all have like a mission in this, right? I knew that God had put it on my heart to have a mission to be home. And ironic, we're all home now, right now. And some of us want to pull our hair out being home, right? But I had this mission to be present with my kids. And I only had one at the time, but I knew that it was very, very hard on myself and on him when I wasn't there for him, when I wasn't able. And sometimes like we're not all called to the same thing, but that was my mission. And so I went for it. And so in 24 days, we became a diamond team. And I'll be honest with you guys, I only had like 2 business coaches. I was doing Zoom calls with 2 business coaches. But the way that we talked about it and the belief that we had in what we were doing, people joined us. They thought we were like a top team, not because I said, hey, we're a top team, but because I talked about where we were going. And there was no doubt in my mind that any coach that joined me wouldn't either become a coach someday or would be a diamond coach. And I mean, when I ended up going, so and ended up like, diamond, quick, and then 2-star in like 6 months, and then 7-star in 9 months, 10-star in a year, and then 15-star in like 23 months. And it just went boom. But I have to tell you guys, there was a lot of lessons in there. Let me tell you that. But when I hit 15-star, 12 out of those 15 diamonds started out as discount coaches. So even though I had started even as a diamond coach with just, 2 business coaches, when I went 2-star, those were my 2 business coaches, right? Like that's kind of how it went. And we continued to grow. We aren't a huge team, but we're mighty. You know what I mean? Like we were powerful. And I just definitely realized that there's so much about believing in what you're doing that is going to drive the fact that you can go all in. And that's really kind of what I want to talk about, is really going all in. It's something that I'm really passionate about, that I've talked about a lot. And it can apply to business. It can apply to life, right? Like just going all in on your calling. And I actually, I wanted to share a little story with you guys. I actually have 3 siblings. I don't know why I was about to say 4. There's 4 of us. There you go. But I have 3 siblings, and my youngest brother and I are 7 years apart, and we are complete opposites. Like complete opposites. He has social anxiety. He does not like to be up in front of people at all. He doesn't want to, have like lengthy conversations at all. Like I'm like, let's chat, like Mike was saying at the beginning. I'm like, I feel you. I could just be on a Zoom and just chat, right? Well, Eli, my brother Elijah, is not like that at all. Hates that. And it's so funny because he's adopted. I feel like I should say that because my basketball skills are not that great, but he is an incredible basketball player. And we are 7 years apart, like I said. So when he was in his junior year of high school and playing on this really big team, I would lived close. I was able to go to the games. And I would always kind of giggle. Like I remember going into the games and like sitting in the bleachers. And if I'm going to be honest, the number one thing I remember is the smell of popcorn because I love food. But I remember being in the middle of the bleachers and watching these students come in. And these girls would come in and they'd be like all decked out and they'd have E-Baby, which was my brother's nickname, on the back of their shirts and stuff. And I would just always kind of laugh to myself because he hated it. He didn't like it. Like, I think that, I mean, I'm an Enneagram number 3. Like, I would have been like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. But no, not Eli, right? And so it just always kind of made me laugh. They'd be like doing cheers and stuff. And one particular game, before the game started, I remember seeing my parents kind of come in on the side, and my dad wheeled my mom in. My mom was very, very sick. And I could tell she had been fighting a battle of cancer for 2 years at that point. And I remember just looking at her and seeing her in the wheelchair and seeing she was like hunched a certain way, which meant that it was a really bad pain day. She was extra pale. I could tell that it was really, really hard for her to be there. But my mom had made one thing very clear. Before she died, she was going to make it to Eli's games. That was her baby. That was her baby boy, and she was going to make it to his games. And so my dad wheeled her in. And I just remember I was kind of in the middle, and I remember them being on the side. And the coaches called the players to the center of the court. And I soon realized that it was parent appreciation night. And I don't know if they have that where you are, but on parent, there we go, appreciation night, they do this thing like once a year where they have like all the parents come to the center of the court and the players give their parents a rose, and it's like this really powerful ceremony. And so they called the parents to the center of the court, and something happens where the wheelchair is stuck or something, but my mom, like my dad is struggling. My mom is like in pain because he's like trying to push her and it's not working, and it's really getting uncomfortable. Like kind of all eyes in the entire gymnasium are on them. And I start making my way over there because I'm in the middle of the bleachers, and all of a sudden I just like feel this like shadow like go by me. And I look, and it's my brother Eli. And before they could struggle any longer, before they had to like really become this huge, huge spectacle, which people were already watching, but before it got to an extreme, Eli had grabbed the rose from his coach and he had run over to where my mom was. And he had given her the rose, and he was like whispering in her ears, and she was like crying. And I just remember, the announcer had stopped talking. You could literally hear a pin drop. It was just this incredible imagery of grace and love and just so much. And I'll just be honest, as a woman of faith, I see so much symbolism in that. I see our God running to us when we need him the most, being there for us. But in that moment, I remember Eli whispering to my mom, and when he turned around, he was kind of like in shock. I don't think he realized even how much people were watching, and like the whole gym stood up and did the standing ovation for him and my mom. And I just remember thinking, if you knew Eli in any way, you knew how insanely uncomfortable it was for him to do that. But he didn't think twice about it when he did it, because he knew that that was what he was called to do in that moment. He knew that he needed to go all in. And my mom had gone all in because she came, right? But it was just this incredible moment of dying to self to do something that he knew that he needed to do. And something pretty amazing happens when we really, truly take captive these moments and we go all in. And I remember, that story, that moment has affected my entire coaching career. It's affected everything that I've done, because I always think about what happens when you really, truly die to self help other people, bless other people, no matter how you're feeling, no matter what your emotions tell you, because you can't live your life by emotions, right? You can't live your life deciding if you're happy. You've got to choose joy. You've got to realize that that is an action that goes beyond circumstance, right? Same thing with not feeling like I want to show up today, not feeling like I really want to mentor my coaches that chose me to be their coach. You've got to go beyond that. And I watched my brother do that, and it was so impactful on my life. There's another little story that I want to share with you. And then I'm kind of speaking stories. And then I want to share with you my 15-star journey a little bit, because it's interesting. And I think that if any of you guys are going for some big goals right now, no matter what the season is, I want to encourage you. But there's also a story in the Word that it's kind of like an ancient story. It's basically about the two armies that were in battle. But it's like back in the ancient days where they like used to like stand. You guys have seen stuff where they like stand in front of each other and they kind of come and then they like kind of almost like talk about it before they decide to like really fight. But anyway, every day, this one army versus the other one, this guy that was like beyond size, like beyond anything we've probably really seen, would come up out of the army and he would just mock the other side. Like, hey, what's up? Who wants to fight me? Like, I'm here. I've got this. I'm huge. Like, you can't do this. Like, come on, let's see who's going to try. And every day for 40 days, every day, the other army would stand there and then they would end up running away in fright. And this teenage boy basically came to go and help his family. He was bringing some stuff to his brothers, and he comes and he sees this huge dude on the other side coming and mocking them and making fun of their belief system and everything that they're doing. And he looks at the king and he's like, why is nobody fighting that guy? And the king's like, nobody's brave enough. Nobody's willing to do it. He's like 9 feet tall. Like nobody's doing it. And basically the teenage boy is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do it. I can do this. And the king's like, no, you're not. Number one, the king was super prideful. And so he was like embarrassed. And he's like, you're not going to do this. I'm not going to let a teenage boy go up there and get defeated and make fun of my army, basically. And he's like, listen up. I actually like tend to sheep. He was a shepherd. He's like, I tend to sheep. And I have fought bears and I have fought lions to protect my sheep. And God has always protected me. There is no reason why he won't do that now. And I can go against this guy. And so basically the king's like, okay, here's some armor. And the kid's like, no, I'm not going to take your armor. I know that that's not how I would fight a lion or a bear. I know what to do. So I'm going to take what works for me, which was basically a stone and a sling. And he's like, I'm going to do this. And it says, this is the key. It doesn't say that he walks, up, in front of him. It says that he ran to the battlefield. It says that he ran. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I think that when we start something and we just kind of walk into it and we just kind of slowly go into it, that mindset can start to bring up a whole lot of fear and doubt, right? But he didn't do that. He ran. And because of that, he went into that battle with confidence. And basically the giant dude was like, oh, this is cute, takes off his helmet, just kind of standing there mocking him. And because of that, he slings the shot, hits him in the head, knocks him out, runs up, chops off his head, and the entire army that had been mocking them every day flees. And the Israelites, the army that the teenage boy David was with, end up completely conquering them. And you may have heard that story before, the story of David and Goliath, but I think that those truths in there are something that we can so miss. I think that with coaching, there are certain points where we can't just sit and think about all that we have to do or about these goals that we've set. We need to run, we need to go, and we need to take action. So when when my team was going for 15-star, I remember we were just so pumped. Basically I had 30 coaches total in my first business center. total, which is the bare minimum that you can have to be a 15-star diamond coach. And so I only had 30 coaches. It was, less than 2 years in of coaching. And I was just like, okay, we're going for this. I never doubted that any coach on my team that really, truly wanted to do this wouldn't be a diamond coach, because we know that it doesn't stop at diamonds. We know that it goes so far beyond that. And so that was kind of like the first stop. And I remember like just being so excited with my team. We were pumped and we were all set, and we were going to wake up the next day and we were going to be a 15-star qualifying team. And it was so exciting. And I just woke up the next day and it was like 14-star, which by the way is huge. But remember that there was that specific goal that we were going for. And it ended up being like a really silly mistake, like PB. It ended up being like 30 PB or something, that could have been helped, but it was just missed. When you're trying to look at everything, it was missed. And I remember feeling really defeated that day, but I went back into my team page and I said, okay, guys, and I should mention this too, like we missed everything for like summit recognition. That was like the week we had to do it and all that kind of stuff. But I went back in my team page and I said, okay, guys, after a lot of prayer and after a lot of, like, I don't want to pretend that this was easy because it wasn't. But I went back in my team page and I said, it's time. Like, this is our week. It doesn't matter that this didn't happen this week. We are called to this and we can do this and we can run to this and we can fight for this. And they were all about it. So I realized after I said that I looked in my back office, and this would have happened either way, but I realized that between my first business center, another business center, and my first knowing that I had to have the bare minimum of coaches, right, to be able to even make this goal, I had to add 12 coaches in a week. And I was like, okay. And at that time, that was a challenge. That was a challenge. And so I remember really, really working hard. I can't really stress that enough. I mean, really working hard. And I remember Monday came and I had not added anybody. And I was working day and night. And I finally got to a place, I was sitting in my car and I just remember being like, okay, God, like, I surrender. Like, I'm trying to control this. I can't get anybody to sign up. And that's probably why I just need to surrender this. And so I was like, okay, I surrender. I'm gonna continue to work hard, but I can't do this without you. I need you. And at that moment, I got a phone call. And I never really got like phone calls from my corporate mentor. Like Arnaud and I would meet like maybe like every other week. We hadn't met for over a month because he was out of town and I was out of town. And I don't even know if he knew exactly what I was going for at that moment. But he called me on the phone and he's like, hey, Jess. I'm like, hey. And I was kind of battling this. And he's like, so what's up? Like, what's going on? He's like, I just felt like the man upstairs was telling me I was supposed to call you, which was kind of amazing in itself. And I was like, yeah, we're going for 15-star and I have 2 days to add 12 coaches. And he was like, okay, so do it. You can do it. You just need to decide, and you need to be okay with continuing, even though you haven't seen results. You need to continue to push forward. And this is the thing too, guys, what I've realized through all of this, through different elite pushes, through everything, you have no regrets left on the table when you give it your all. I have not been elite every year I've been a coach, but it's not for lack of trying through whatever circumstance I've been through, right? And I just realized like there's nothing that I can be ashamed of or like feel like I didn't do if I give it my all to the very moment. And that and surrendering it, pray. If you're praying kind, pray over your business. If you're the praying kind, do it. I've had so many people come to me and like, can you pray over your business? Is that okay? Yes. I just really encourage you, if you talk to God, talk to him about everything. I'm not saying sit on your couch and pray for $1 million and don't do anything. Work as if it depends on you. Pray as if it depends on God, because it does. But give it your all and definitely talk to him, But I was like, okay, it was like this newfound, it was like, okay, he didn't call me for no reason. Like that was anointed. So I'm going to go for this. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to be defeated. Had my little pity moment. It's okay. We've all been there. I'm going to move on and I'm going to go for this. And over the next 48 hours, I added 12 coaches and we became a 15-star qualifying team. And for the next 6 weeks, it wasn't easy, but we worked through it and we qualified. And it's amazing to me because I actually found out the week that we went 15-star, I found out I was 6 weeks pregnant with my daughter. So through that whole time, I was, kind of understanding or kind of feeling that as well. And so, but I think, through that and through so many times in this business where circumstance, talk about trials, guys, there have been times, and Mike knows this, there have been times in my life over the past 6 years that have been the most difficult in my life, right? Besides my mom passing, just dealing with circumstances that I couldn't change, that I couldn't do. I never imagined that I would be a single mom right now. I wouldn't have imagined that, my former spouse had another family. Like, I would not have imagined any of that stuff. Like, it's heartbreaking. But what I have also recognized is that nothing needs to stop me from being a blessing to other people. And I can always bless other people no matter what I'm going through, no matter what our world is going through. There are people that absolutely need you. And when I look at it in that perspective, goals are so good. And I absolutely think that we need to have like dates and goals and like to have that vision, to pray over it, to go for it. And we also need to understand that it's so much bigger. It's so much bigger than going diamond. It's about how many people you blessed to be able to get to that goal with your team. It's about how many people we talk about helping people, right? That became so real to me when I felt like the only thing that I could do was bless other people. And I learned, we all have 24 hours in a day. There is nobody that has an advantage on that. There's moments in this business, and I'll be honest, even as of recent, there's moments where I feel like God has told me, like, be quiet and listen. And that's good. That's really, really good. But that doesn't stop you from being able to bless others. In fact, I believe that the enemy, if every time he attacks, we go and bless other people and go help other people, it's going to get really sick of attacking. Doesn't mean it's going to stop, but man, what a great way to give a black eye to the enemy. You know what I mean? So I just really, truly have felt that in my life. And just to give you like some practical tools, because I wanted to encourage you, I wanted to motivate you today. My hope is to inspire you and to love on you, and for you to know that whatever goal that you feel like you're going for this season or whatever it is, it could be tangible, income, diamonds, a star diamond, elite, whatever it is. It may also be, something in your personal life or whatnot. You got this. It really just has to do with battling that mindset and knowing that there's no reason why you can't be that way. So in 2018, when my life turned upside down, I made like a prayerful decision to really go for elite in the second half of the year, having like no major points or anything. And sometimes like, I'm just like, it was definitely a decision that it was a decision. It was a choice, right? Like it was something that I was like, okay, why would I not go for this? And as we come out of battles, I think sometimes we have a choice to either just kind of like let be what it is or whatever, or to really move forward. And I just felt like I need to at least go for this with my team. And so I came to my team and I said, do you guys want to do this with me? Like, I really feel called to this. And I'm going to be honest, you guys, at that point, I had made the decision that if they weren't with me, I was going to find new coaches. That was just, I would still love them. They were still going to be on my team and everything, but I wasn't just going to let that decision become my reality. I was going to do everything that I could. That's all I can really do is my actions, right? So I was going to do everything that I could to help other people be coaches on my team anyway. And so we really, really went for it. And, I'm long story short, because I want to respect your time on this Saturday, but long story short, we ended up hitting elite, popping 2 new diamonds on December 20th that year and hitting elite with exactly 105 points on the last day of the year at 5 p.m. Like, it was like, I'm still like, wow, God is so good, because that was something that feels like it was beyond me. But I am going to tell you what I did, and I hope that it really helps you as well. So what we did is basically I really, really started to, I had been through this season of like fighting for the safety of my kids, for protection for my kids, all that kind of stuff. And I hadn't really looked at like my stats. So if you haven't taken inventory, that's really, really helpful. And my mentor actually said to me at leadership that year, like, where are you at? And I didn't know. And we should really know that if this is something that we're really going towards, we need to know our inventory. So I took inventory. I started to look and I started to see where the holes were. And that really helped me understand like where I needed to grow my business. That's just something that any business owner, by the way, would need to do. If you had a restaurant, you would need to know what you need to order for the next week. You would need to know those kinds of things. So that was just something that had to happen. So I took inventory, right? And then I remembered that I had to, number one, stay positive. But then again, I spoke to my coaches. I talked with my coaches, what are your goals? Not let me just completely impose my will on you, but more about like, what are your goals? And I'm going to encourage you and I'm going to mentor you. But let's find that out so that we can really understand, are these goals of yours? What are your action items? What are you willing to do? So that we can match each other's effort, and I can also see kind of where those goals need to be filled. Okay, so talk to your coaches if you're going for these big goals. Any goal, not big goals, any goal, right? You're going for emeralds. You should know what that means. You should know your inventory. You're going for diamonds. You should know what that looks like and who you need to add and where. It's not Mike's job or your upline's job to know like, oh, okay, you need this for 2-star. You need this. No, you should know that. Like, look that up, know your stuff. That's going to empower you to really go forward with those goals anyway, right? So know that. But then I started to, I was going out of my way, and this was a season, but I was going out of my way to meet people where they were at times that maybe wasn't convenient for me. It was a sacrifice, but if it meant I had to get up at 5 a.m. for my East Coast coaches, and I had to be up until 11 to meet my Pacific coaches at 8 p.m. their time, I was doing it because I knew that this wasn't necessarily my new normal. I knew this was a season of push, and there was no reason why I couldn't be present and couldn't do that, right? And so for that season, I made myself extra available. I did sneak peeks, and I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't have overwhelming amount of numbers attending these sneak peeks. I'm just going to be honest about it, right? But in November, I had 2 girls that attended one of our sneak peeks that signed up as coaches, and one of them was one of those people that went diamond on December 20th. Okay, so the other was another coach on our team. But had I just kind of thrown in the towel, or had I not been diligent about continuing to seek out those coaches, that would have not happened. And so again, understanding that you've got to get creative, we got to get scrappy. In the 1930s, when they were going through the Depression, they would use flour bags after they were done with them. They would get scrappy, and that's where that term came from, where they would like rip up the flour bags and make them into dish rags, or they would use them as clothes. They got really creative. And so I had to think outside the box, and I couldn't let any defeating thoughts make me feel like I was incapable or that I couldn't do this. I had to fight that and go all in and get creative. So we did extra sneak peeks. We worked towards this. I met with my team on a regular basis. None of this is rocket science, and none of it is like super, whoa, what's the secret? The secret is I worked really hard, and so did my team. And I think that if your thinking is stinking, your team is shrinking. And if you don't have the people that really want to go there with you, it doesn't mean that, like, I just wasn't made for this. Like, oh, I just should, throw in the towel. Like, don't we all want to feel like that sometimes? That's not the case. We just have to keep finding the right people. And sometimes we have to get through, I heard Amy Silverman say this at a summit one time, sometimes we have to get through the quantity to find the quality, right? So it's not just about how many people can I sign up and like throw them to stick at a wall. It's about really giving your heart to who you're signing up and what you're doing. And it's also about understanding that it's their job to build their business, and it may take time to find the quality, but you still have to get through that quantity. And so you have to work really hard to find that. And so, I think there was a phase, and I'll end with this. There was a phase in this business back in like 2015, maybe 2016, that I totally was a part of. And it was like posting about how like, oh, I don't, it was, nobody had the intent of making it look this way, but it just kind of came off, where you would see a lot of posts of like, oh, I just sit around all day in my yoga pants and eat bonbons and build a business. And you guys know that that is so not true. I never want anybody to join my team and feel like, just join it and you'll, it's a get rich quick scheme, right? And none of us want to feel like, none of us want people like that to join our team anyway, because number one, they're not going to get rich quick, right? Like, and if they do, prosper in that way, it's because of hard work. And so I always want my coaches to know, like, hey, like, if you join me, yes, but like, it's going to be about action. It's not going to be about me holding your hand, but it's going to be about action. And that's what my team and I did, both for 15 Star, had to do with belief, going all in, taking inventory, understanding it, and knowing that we were empowered to be able to do the hard things. And because of that, we saw results. It's just like our fitness journeys, isn't it? And so anyway, I want to open it up for questions, you guys, but I do want to have you walk away from this. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking really long. Sorry, Mike, but but I wanted to say too, for the right now, talk to your success partner. It's great to talk to your upline. If you don't have a success partner, find one. Your upline can help you with that. But talk to somebody else in this business that is going to move you forward. It's not going to bring you backwards, and you're not just going to have these like chats about how you didn't do anything today, but you're in it together. Like, no, you want people that are going to help move you forward, right? And talk to them like, how many people? Really think about these questions. Like, how many people do you want to help a month? How many people a month? Maybe you haven't broke it down, and some of you are leaders, and this is super basic, and I understand that. But once in a while, even, being in this for multiple years, I have to look at it and go, how many people am I really trying to help this month? Like, I know that I have a specific bottom line, but what if I pushed myself to do something so much more than that? How many people am I really trying to help? How many coaches do you want to help mentor to advance, to really be able to do this? Think about those questions. How many people do you want to help get started? How many coaches do you really want to help advance? If you are, can I just say this? Like, I love that our business is up by 300, maybe more % right now, and how incredible it is. I know that people are having this incredible season of harvest, and some people are kind of going through this season of trial, right? Like some people are just going, our country is our world, I should say, is going through this unknown time, right? So again, like how can we bless other people? How can we look at that? How many coaches, what would it mean to the people on your team if they were able to come out of this season victorious and triumphant, if they're in trial? If they are going through a season of harvest, what a testimony that is. Stand with them, be excited for them. That's so great. But how can you unite and really move your business forward? And then really take advanced inventory, like how much volume. I think this is important. I think we need to get nitty and gritty about it. So like, how much volume and income would you like to increase? Each month, each week. Break it down. That's the best advice I got from the beginning of my business, is break down the goals. Like, oh, I want to be 15 Star Diamond. Great. But how are you going to get to the next step? Because that's what really helped me. It wasn't this, I had the big idea of I want to do this. I feel called to this. I want to go all in. I want to go all out. But first I had to go diamond. Then I had to go 2-star. Then I had to go 5-star, and so on. You know what I mean? And so sometimes when we look at it like that, it's like diamond. If you just go emerald again and again and again and again and again, that's what got my coaches to diamond. Just picturing going emerald again. It's just 2 people. It's just 2 people, but those 2 people need you. So how cool is that? And it's 2 people. So let's go two people again, two people again, two people again. And then you're diamond and it's exciting and it's fun. And now you've got that momentum. So take that, understand that volume and that income and how that would affect your team and how cool that would be. And then break down how you would do that. And so I could go in a lot more details, but I want to be respectful of your time. So share that with your success partner, break it down. And this is probably nothing Mike has not told you, but sometimes it's just fun to get things reemphasized in words. And so I love you. I'm for you. And I'm just so grateful I got to speak to you today.
I'm muted. Thanks, Jess. I'm just going to recap two things. I'll open up to questions. And nothing happens without what she said, belief, not just in yourself, but in what we do, and then deciding to go all in. You can tiptoe this business, but when I started as well, I started this knowing I was going to be successful and that this was something that I was going to do no matter what. And it's like retail. You don't put $400,000 into a retail store going, oh, I think I might want to do this. I sure hope this works. Oh, I hope this works. The store's not going to work. And it's the same with this biz. So thanks, Jess. That was, I saw Michelle as well a couple times. That your brother's story. Whew. And then it took me like a minute to realize it was actually David and Goliath.
Yeah. Well, I think too, if we say David and Goliath, we all kind of just know that story, but there's something different about it. But yeah. Yeah.
Any questions, guys? Or comments? Or just love?
Guys, can I ask you guys a quick question before you go? Is anybody, and you can write it in the chat if you want, but is anybody going for any specific big goal right now that they are really working towards with their team?
There's a lot of people on here so close to Diamond or going to Diamond. Megan co-wrote 2-star by the end of the year. I was going to say that's ridiculous. I'm thinking more like September, but whatever.
There you go. I just want to encourage you guys to let's make it this week. There's no reason why, if you're just a couple people away, and maybe it is this week for you, but there's no reason why you have to push that off. You can literally look at it as take a captive right now. Take a captive right now and really think, okay, you know what? It's Saturday. I have until Thursday to get 4 people, 5 people. I hope that story of that 24 hours with 12 coaches, like I said, I'm not going to pretend it was easy, but I hope that story really encourages you to go, you know what? I'm going to work so hard until it's done. You can do it. And yeah, I agree. Just go for it. And then plan something fun. Like on Friday, what are you going to do to celebrate? And look forward to that. Get really excited about that. Have a pizza party with your team or whatever. Yeah. That's awesome. Love that. And I don't know, to Megan, I don't know where you're at with stuff, but here's the deal. I totally agree with Mike that I think anybody that starts right now can be 2-star by the end of the summer if they wanted to, right? They can be 2-star in the next couple months if they want to. And so I encourage you with that. I know that you can't necessarily make people go diamond. That's not what I'm saying, but I do know that where there is belief and that impacts your team and your coaches and the people that you sign up, something pretty incredible can happen. And so, so I hope that really encourages you as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're one of the most consistent people as well. And it's just, it'll change the way you speak also. And the message you get across that and I think we listened to, I'll pass it on to you, Jess. It was amazing. Cassidy Brewer, it was 3 coaches talked about how they attract business builders. And it's leading people and talking to them, which is what you mentioned as well. And I was posting in the thing, you have to share your vision and where your team is headed. And if you're like, well, let's see, it's May, June, July, August, September, October, November. We've got like 7 months to kind of hit this goal. It's like, no, we are on a mission. We are bringing people with us. This company is, it changes your verbiage as to what you're getting across as well. I know Joe's in 2-star qual, so congrats for that, Joe.
Yeah, go Joe. That's awesome. I agree. And, it's kind of like that thing that I said, and and I'll be honest, I didn't even realize that coaches were joining me when I first started thinking we were a top team. That was just how much belief and excitement that I had when I would talk about it. I'm going to the top with this. I just don't want you to be upset that you didn't join me, and I didn't mean that, I meant that in confidence, not in any other way. It was just, I so knew that this is what I was going to do. And so I totally agree. It's kind of like if you tell yourself by the end of the day, this is really mild, but by the end of the day, you're going to fold all the laundry, then like at the last hours of the day, you're going to fold the laundry. Where if you're like, let's just get it done, I'm going to do this, you're going to do it right away. So.
Joel's tattoo is Ride the Line, and it's perfect because Joel's, it's, because at first I was like, oh, you're a surfer. And he's like, no. He's like, it's that fine line between confidence and cocky. You have to ride that line of being confident in what you're doing without being cocky. And like you said, come with me because I don't want you to not be there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry, Michelle, I think I cut you off. You're going to say something.
That's okay. Yeah, I just, first of all, I just want to thank you for your mentorship. Jess was one of the first coaches that I connected with when I decided to go into coaching. I said, give me a list of Christian women who have killed this business, who are openly sharing their faith. And you were one of them. And you were so gracious to have lots of conversations with me and just encourage me. So I love you, sis, for that. But I wanted to ask you a question. Did you ever struggle with or get like judged from your faith community, or were you worried about this Beachbody business? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. First off, I love you too. And thank you for saying that. I'm sure there are probably people that have judged me more than I probably know. And I think God protects us in that way. I just know, I'm trying to think if there was any like specific, it's not that it hasn't happened. It's just that I haven't been willing to dwell on it. You know what I mean? Like, I know that my God is so much bigger than that. And you know that too, Michelle. It's, if people want to be like my church, for instance, when I started, I was a worship director and a director of connections at a church, and they were very, very supportive. I was also very respectful of what I was doing. So like, people at my church were asking me about what I was doing. And if I was working at the church at that moment, I would say, yeah, send me an email, or I'll send you an email or whatever. And I didn't like sit there at, during my job and, get them signed up. Like, while I was, I was respectful of it. There are, probably some people that I've talked to that just think MLMs are like deceptive as like a whole. And I just don't care that I don't mean that rudely. I just don't care is probably a bad term. I just don't let it affect me, because I know that God has called me to this, and he's blessed it. He's going to, like, I'll be honest with you guys. Way back when I went 15-star, I was making a lot more money than I am now. I lost half of my income when I went through my divorce. And that was difficult for me, but God has provided every need, and it doesn't change the way that I feel called to this business. Whether I'm making, thousands of dollars more a week or whatever, it doesn't change what I know in my heart I'm supposed to do with this. And I think that as long as you continue to walk in that, the enemy is going to use anybody that is willing. And so you just have to know that, and you do. And I just don't let myself it's not that I handle everything perfectly. I've had people like just attack me for being a Christian, you know, like as far as like, you know, when I've invited them to be part of this, they don't know me from Adam, and they're like, well, I followed you and I thought that you loved God, and now I see you're part of one of those or whatever, you know. And I just, you know, the best way, again, to give the enemy a black eye is just like, you know, Satan wants you to get really upset about it. He wants you to dwell on it. And like what I've learned about joy is that it goes beyond our circumstance and that it's an action, like I said. And so like, I feel like every time something, and it doesn't happen often, I'll be honest, but when it has, it felt like it was like a test almost to like, how am I going to handle this? So I just love on them. Like, I'm sorry you feel that way. You're loved. I'll be praying for you. And I mean it. I'm not saying it in any, you know, rude way. It's loving. And then I'll block people too. Like, I have no shame in that game, because I'm like, you know, you're not, if you're not for me, that's okay. But God is, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So yeah, if you ever feel any opposition, whether it's under a mask of a title of Christianity or whatnot, it's from the enemy. So I just walk boldly in that, knowing that, and I'm victorious because I'm in what I'm where I'm supposed to be. So yeah. I hope that helps. I haven't gotten a ton of that, mainly because I've been so bold about my faith from like the moment I started. So most of my followers like understand that about me and respect it. So, and what you put out there is what, you know, but yeah, of course, you know, the enemy will always attack. So we just gotta remember David. Yeah. Does that help? I hope that was somewhat helpful.
Yeah, thanks, girl.
Okay.
Any last questions before we let Jess go? And I'll let it go. You know what's interesting is I was an altar boy growing up, raised extremely Catholic, whatever. I am not a religious person by any means right now. However, I love hearing, and I think this is part of the thing is, and you know how some people get turned off by Christianity or people talk about the religion. I love hearing different points of view. And even though I'm not religious, I loved hearing how you incorporate that in and the way you talk about it. It's like you take a little bit out of what everybody says. So I want to thank you for coming on the call and kind of expanding even just my mind a little bit and sharing your story. So, and I try to finish this off without, you know, getting too emotional. So no, your stories are amazing, and what you've been through, and that you still said to heck with that, and you came back even stronger. And I'm not gonna put words in your mouth, but I'm sure going elite that second time was almost just as rewarding as going 15-star.
Oh, I think it was more. I think it was more, just because, you know, and like I said, I haven't been elite every year, and there's been moments where God has kind of like told me to kind of be still a little bit with, not with my business overall, but just to like kind of listen and then to know when to go. But it felt so good because I knew it was number one, it was the right thing to do. And then you work hard, isn't it always? It's like finishing a race, you know, it always feels so good. And Mike, you guys know Mike's story. I mean, Mike, you're incredible. And thank you for letting me boldly share too. I really appreciate that. So
anytime, always welcome. Hopefully we'll see you in Arizona. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it sure better.
I don't know either, but I would love to. I hope I see a lot of you in Arizona. That would be awesome. And don't think it's out of your reach, because it's not. So go for that. And then I don't know, Mike, if you saw my post in the round table, but just so you guys know too, Mike, you can check it out. But Matt Way and I and a couple are getting together to pray on Wednesday morning. If that's something you want to do, just know that you're welcome. And Mike's got the details for it. So.
I'll share that. Thanks, Jess.
All right. Thanks, Mike, so much. Thank you guys so much for having me. I love you.
Thanks for coming.
You got this. All right. Talk to you guys later.
So in case you missed it, because she said it pretty fast, the year she went elite that first half, she discovered her husband had a whole nother family. And to come back in that same year, it was such a battle to get her family away from him. She moved from Minnesota to Florida. To go through that and then battle back and keep growing her business, I just found that so relevant for right now, for what people are going through, and it's tough. And it's like, no, this isn't tough. What she went through was tough, right? And just decided, it's like, no, I'm going to do this. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I thought it was fantastic. Any questions or any comments before we get going?
Are we going to let Co talk?
Yes.
She looks extra studious in her glasses.
Did you say Rachel?
Did I call you out?
I didn't even hear it. There's 3 voices in the background and there was
No.
silence and I heard hideous in her glasses. So I was like,
I didn't
No.
say hideous. I said
Studious.
studious.
You
Oh,
heard
okay.
hideous.
I was like, oh, I kind of like them, but
I do too, actually.
all right.
What we were talking about yesterday. Are you gonna?
Sure. Yeah. I'm just going to move. So, because everyone else has joined me. So, I'm going to take my studiousness upstairs for 5 minutes.
So, and again, she went from 15 star, which is like the epitome. At that time, there's probably only 25 people who did it in the entire history of the company. And then to get 2 diamonds in 1 year was even more precious. Like, you could think, oh my God, I've dropped so far, my business has crumbled, and you can pack up and quit. But again, I don't know. I love her story and her energy.
What do we want to talk about? Like, in terms of what we were referring to yesterday, in terms of
News to me.
like not taking this, I don't know, we all have a different approach to coaching too, right? And I think I have a different approach than, let's say, obviously Michelle, right? Because I'll like curse on the chat and I'm not sure if Michelle will. But we were talking yesterday about how not taking this like as if we're all sitting around a campfire, you know what I mean? And just sort of kumbayaing it, but try to really, really push yourself and know that you can do the tough things. Mike dropped a leadership type of call in our diamond chat a couple of days ago. And as soon as he dropped it, I had an hour to work, so I watched it, and it fired me up. We know we're all capable of doing the tough things, but quite often we get really comfortable and we put the tough things off. So I've been doing a lot of thinking since we talked about that. And I know I'm capable of it. I know I'm way more capable of what I've put out there. I know I'm consistent. I just don't do those small tasks consistently. And one of the biggest things is inviting to coaching and not being afraid to like invite to your team. Like, we sit there, we talk about it, but we don't actually, and the people watch us over and over and over, but we don't watch them. As soon as I watched that call and it lit me up and I was like, shit, I can do that, right? Like, that's not hard. She just said that, that's not hard. I put it out there on my stories and 2 people messaged me. 2 people were like, lady, I've been watching you forever and I actually have been thinking about it. So it's like, as soon as I did that, I'm like, oh my God, see, yeah, I could totally do that. Like, why have I been sitting around this campfire and just enjoying this for so long when I could have been, I don't know. I don't know how to put it into words. I struggle with words.
I'll share the call, Megan, because I
Yeah.
actually listened to it while I was grocery shopping yesterday in
Okay.
Farm Boy. And I incorporated that into my stories right away as soon as I saw it. And when Megan says inviting, it's not the icky inviting she's talking about where you're cold messaging, hey girl, you'd be
Right,
great at
right.
this, love your page.
Yeah. I mean, and exactly. Inviting to me is, it can't be that cold message. It's got to like, this is why I love stories, because you can just talk about it, right? Be like, holy guys, like this, you know, the people I'm with light me up. You know, I make money doing this. They make money doing this. Like, you know, and just sharing, like just talking. And then all of a sudden at the end of the chat being like, you have to join me. Like you're stupid if you've been following me for 2 years and you haven't jumped on board yet, right? Like and it's not the tackiness. If we could really, I think, practice that, just practice talking about it, I think that will move a lot of us. We can still sit around the campfire, but that will, you know, it will light us up. I think, like, I was totally lit up by that. I was driven by that. I need more of that. Since then, this week, I've just sort of changed my, the way I sort of run my business, and I've made priorities for getting an hour of, you know, a power hour early in the morning. I wasn't doing that before. Like, it's just sort of changed the way that I do things. I guess I was just sort of lucky with just showing up and people would come to me, and right. But to switch it to like pushing this to make a business, things like that have to happen, right? I'm just going to keep babbling because I'm going to, but I'll stop at that.
No,
I'll add a couple, like, and Deb's not on here. When we were in LA, we were talking to the sisterhood, you know, and they very much had that whole campfire feeling where everyone was just kind of like sitting around the campfire because, you know, it felt like a sisterhood, right? They were friends, they were buddies. And Courtney's like, I just want them to roast their own darn marshmallow, right? And I know, and it's true, like, put some, and it's really just like almost equating it to putting some skin in the game. If I talk about my business and my stories and how I make money, am I going to lose some followers? Sure. I'm good. Like, I can't be scared of that because they weren't my people in the first place. Right. So like actually putting out there, and again, like Megan says, it doesn't have to be icky. Like yesterday I did a post and I asked Deb to read it. And it's like, I know what this business does for people. I know that this business puts food on the table for some people, that this business pays the mortgage for some people, right? This has become my full-time income. Was I scared that it was going to tank when COVID hit? Of course I did. But I kind of stayed the course and kept doing what I was doing. In the last 2 months have been my best income months and my highest SE months in a really long time, because I just did it in an authentic way. And I just kept going and going and doing the work. And I mean, we were even talking yesterday about how, you know, we love our sweat and sips, but maybe, like, I love how last week we did a power hour first and we got that out of the way and we did it together, and then we sweat, and then we can open up for very quick Q&A, because we don't want you guys to get stuck in this. How do you work TikTok? How do you work Snapseed? How do you work Canva? I can't get a banner to work. I hate making banners, by the way. They never effing fit. Yeah. Like, you know, and stop getting stuck in all those I don't, because we have all that stuff in Mompreneur. We don't need to make it,
nobody cares how pretty your banner is in your group. So.
Yeah.
Nobody
that's
cares.
Another thing I was going to bring up too. Yeah.
Doing the real work and opening up that Q&A to questions on how you can really build your business. Are you not sure how volume works? Don't be embarrassed to ask. Like, I'm sure we all still struggle with how volume and placement works sometimes. You know, in the Diamond Chat, we were like, oh yeah, you know, what elite points are those again? Like, we're all—
I don't even know how to get elite points. So like I have no idea.
But TikTok. Ask, you know? Yeah.
No.
And just, can we just, like,
and YouTube it.
Don't waste your friggin' time on TikTok. Oh my God.
If TikTok's not going to bring you joy, and if it's going to waste your time, you know, I dip in and out of it, and I have seen some people come over to Instagram, but if it's going to stress you out, drop it. It's not a necessity in this business.
Yeah.
But again, ask the questions. And you're not, guys, no one here is stupid. If you're not sure how something works when it comes to your business, or your back office, or placement, or volume, or something, just ask, because that's what's going to bring your business further along, right? Don't get caught up in, you know, just, you don't need a filter. Go to an open window, put on portrait mode, and you're good to go, right? You don't need to get caught up.
I'll let Krista go in a sec here. We do TikTok. We make banners pretty. We listen to all the training. We do all that stuff so we can avoid doing the uncomfortable, hard stuff that and this was in our leader call the other day. I called myself out on that because I'm just as guilty of avoiding the hard stuff by saying the other stuff's important. But who gives a crap if the text matches the lady's clothing in my Pick Monkey cover, if there's nobody to watch it, right?
Right. And the other thing I think people get caught up on for some reason is the amount of posts that you need to do. Like that to me, like don't dwell on that. That's why stories is amazing. And that's why you can find new people and you see those people following your stories, right? That should be where you're telling the story. That's where you should be talking to people about this business, 100%. And if you feel uncomfortable doing that, practice with just the basics. You don't have to screw the grid. You don't have to have a perfect photo every time. Yeah, it's great, like it looks great, but really that's not why people are following you. It's not. So if you don't have, I love this, somebody said it to me early on, I can't remember who it was, but if you don't have something like important to share that you think people will get value from, don't share it. Like don't just put up a post for the sake of putting up a post. First of all, it's sucking your time. So just don't do it. Like wait until you have something, or write ideas down, or do something else for your business, or talk in your stories.
And Co, like I'm gonna have to shout you out too, because I love the simplicity of your posts sometimes. Like
I can't write worth a damn.
No. And I just texted Krista about this because you are no nonsense, but you're honest. And sometimes it's 2 sentences, but it just showed like you holding your weights out about how you've been working on your shoulder, right? It was just a few sentences, that's it. But you were honest, and it shows that you show up every day, right? Guys, it doesn't have to be a novel that's going to rock someone's world every time.
You know, you know what's a great story is to just go on. First of all, you have to find out who you're talking to. And when you're doing stories, don't put on a persona. Don't try and be perfect. Megan and I have this thing now going back and forth where if the lighting switches up and it makes our face funny, we keep going with the story and we laugh about it. What would make a great story is talking on an Insta story about how, you know what, today I just have the inspiration to do a pretty picture because my hair is all funny. But you know what I love about this business is I can come on and talk to you about it right now, looking the way I do, and I can help you. Like something like that. That's what's effective, not this, you know, with, oh my God, I just, you know, that's not, that's that. But going on and talking,
you want to find real people. Yeah, you want to find real people. That's not going to find real people because you don't do that. Normal people don't do that. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't. No.
No, normal people don't. No, normal people do not do that. We can all agree. Like, who has ever naturally posed like that? None of us.
Nothing wrong with it. I posted a little while ago like that, I'll admit.
With your charcuterie board? That was the opposite direction.
No, where was that? Anyway.
Can I tell you how long I stared at that post trying to figure out how he was posed?
Oh,
Angel took the picture in portrait mode and I was trying to.
Oh. It looks good anyways.
It was her Mother's Day present.
Nice.
Sorry, there's the pose. There it is. I did it, kind of.
Oh yeah, no, that's just like, yo, what's up? That's all that is.
That's a dad pose. That's
but
like what you've been up to.
That's
pretty
not
close.
What you just showed us.
Heather's laughing. I did not have my hands on my hips. They're in my pocket, for the record.
No, there's nothing wrong with that one.
That's the dude version. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but that's the pose I would do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do the other one.
Thanks for bringing that up, Megan. And again, it's a fine line between.
Can someone show us what this pose is?
Oh, yeah.
Mike, do it again.
It's
hands on the hips, twist a little bit, and lean forward.
And then pretend you're dying of laughter, like.
Oh yeah.
You have to do the.
What if you really are dying of laughter because you can't believe you're doing the pose?
I know.
And it's pristine in the background, and there's just this glorious light shining on you.
It's
I don't
just,
have time.
Utopia.
we talked about it just as far as I said, I think I'm just as guilty about making this campfirey because I enjoy it. And especially during COVID, well, you say, I don't know why I started crying introducing her. I just get, I look forward to the 9 o'clock sweat and sips. I look forward to these calls. And so I was just saying, sometimes I worry that I'm going to make it too businessy and people are going to get offended and leave. And so I was like, I was taking just as much responsibility for not making it, I'm not saying it has to be cutthroat, or Megan's not saying we have to just always be businessy, but we need to kind of make that switch of, yes, let's do this. But like when Deb posts in SoulFit, hey guys, let's drop our goals, and one or two people do, it's like, okay, are we just here to hang out? Or are we here to grow a biz? Because like Jessica said, and yes, she's a bit of a unicorn there. If you can find 12 people to sign up as a coach in one day.
Yeah.
But if, again, it's
but if you're under pressure,
it's
doable.
It's
It's
just two
doable,
people.
right?
Yeah.
And honestly, like when John Paul went diamond, I left it all to the last minute, and that was my own fault. Like literally the day before summit recognition cutoff.
But you did it.
But I did it. I went to a Starbucks and I didn't move for 8 hours until I had everything set up with the volume and we were ready to roll, right? So it's that sense of urgency, not to that extreme, but every day.
I think to that point too, I was just going to say it to that point, like you have to state what your sense of urgency is, right? Like you need that cutoff, because I felt the same thing when it was Christmas, right? It was like, okay, I'm going to do this at literally New Year's at like 12:58 or 11:58. Amelia was my person who legit signed up on New Year's. Like ridiculous. But it was a good reminder, especially if we're trying to balance all the things, right? And I do want to say, like the call yesterday, like when we chatted yesterday, if I'm going to be honest, like I felt like it was a bit paralyzing because yeah, we have to be called out on our shit. But some of us are still trying to figure it out, like what works, right? And I think you have to fail in order to know what, okay, that absolutely didn't work, or you have to get stuck and figure out why, right? So I think to your point, we do have to get to work, but we also have to do a fine line of enjoying it and giving ourselves grace when it's like, yeah, you know what? I did spend 3 days trying to figure out TikTok and to TikTok. I use it, I will shamelessly say, I use it as a time tool efficiently. I used it this morning because I knew for me, it would get me moving. But I'm not doing the voiceovers and all of that because that was a time sucker for me, and I know that. And I was like,
yeah, if it's a tool for you and it's part of what you're doing, but like I was in like a rabbit hole and I was trying to make like super original videos and I was like, I can't do this. Like you have to know when to put on the brakes and then go back to what you really should be working on. I think that's the difference, right? We get caught up in, and we were talking about like Flowdesk is great. You know, TikTok has its, you know, its uses. There's other things that serve a purpose, but and Krista, we've had this conversation before. You cannot do, especially as somebody who's very new to the business, all of them at 100%. You just can't. You sort of have to pick what's working for you. And you don't have to, right?
Yeah.
Flowdesk is a great tool, but you don't have to be using it yet if it doesn't serve a purpose for you. 3 years in, I'm using it. It's great. I tried MailChimp when we were first introduced to that, and it was complicated as hell for me, so I quit. I gave up on it. Tried Flowdesk, super easy. So now I can use it. Now I know how to use it, right? But TikTok's not going to serve a purpose for me, so I tried it. It's not going to work for my business. Instagram stories works great, and that's what I'm going to stick with, right? You have to know when to start and stop things, right? As you're learning.
And don't get me wrong, Krista, I'm 100% about the campfire and about the social part of this. Like I don't cry when I talk to my friends. I don't get emotional when I talk. I get emotional talking to you guys because I'm invested. Like this is something pretty cool. I don't, yeah. And I'm not saying go away with that. I'm just saying our needle is so far over to the campfire sometimes that we just need to bring a little bit more balance of, and that's why we did like the power hour calls last week and stuff. And yeah, I'm
yeah, and it's and that's the thing. Like I think sometimes we might tiptoe because we don't want our downlines to think that we don't want to be friends and have fun and like whatever, but we also want to see our downlines succeed, right? And really push this business forward, right? And you know, I was talking to Michelle because she signed someone up last week and they went Emerald same week, and she told me, she goes, it felt amazing to sign someone up and see them succeed almost right away, right? It's that proud mama papa moment, right? So sometimes when we get to all business, it's not that we don't want to be friendly, it's that we know what you guys are capable of and how good it feels when you see someone in your downline do so like,
yeah, I think the balance is important. It's super important. We need the kumbaya, but we also need the grit, right? Like you need both, and you need to be able to talk freely, which is awesome. So
one thing that I'm going to start doing, I started doing it a couple of days ago, is that I am not going to try anything new until I've done a power hour. So like I have to, I feel like I've done a fair bit of power hours. So now I'm in that, okay, I'm just going to pick and choose which ones are kind of working for me, and try new things. But I'm not going to invest in Flow Desk time until I've done that power hour. However, I do believe that Flow Desk is going to serve me both in my business and time efficiency and in my career. So that's somewhere that for me, it's time that I want to invest, but not until I do the work first.
Yeah, that's
don't get me wrong. I fall down. Last night I probably spent a half hour, which turned into probably an hour, on TikTok watching my favorite renovation and magic people. It's just I'm not saying don't go on TikTok or do that. Neither is Megan or Rachel. It's just, yeah. Anyhow.
Because the bottom line too is, and Krista and I talk about this a lot, is because you have to find a way to run this business that brings you joy. And my